So can you drive on a flat tyre? This question's cropped up and it is something you often see, people driving around with really flat tyres. So this video, we're just going to discuss the damage and the problems that happen when you drive a car with a flat. But we're also going to discuss run flats, and we're going to look at the effects of a partial loss of air. So it's not running completely flat, but there's definitely less air in it than there should be. So some cars are fitted with a tyre pressure monitoring system, and I've always had the impression that these are instantaneous. But I had an instance where I was driving along, I hit a pothole and I had 2 flat tyres, complete blowouts as a result of hitting that pothole. And the tyre pressure warning sensor didn't come on until we were on the recovery truck on our way home. Those tyre pressure monitoring systems give you a general idea as to the pressure, but they're just really a reminder to check your tyre pressures. So if your tyre pressure warning light comes up or your tyre pressure sensor is just kicking up that pressures are lower, it's just a good opportunity for you to go around and check the tyres. So if you were driving in a busy, that's the most common situation you find yourself in, you would just have a look at the tyres and just make sure they're not completely flat, and just check as much of the tyre as you can to make sure there's no glass or nails or screws embedded in the tread. And if things look okay, you should be all right to drive to your destination, but do check those tyre pressures properly when you get the first opportunity you can, and top them up to whatever the factory levels will be. So driving around with low pressure will generally upset the handling of the car, so it may wallow a little more, it might not be as sure-footed in the corners, but you're also going to increase the fuel consumption considerably. So in most of my cars that I've driven, I've noticed about 4 to 5% worse fuel economy attributed directly to having low pressures. As soon as I've corrected the pressures, the fuel economy has jumped back up to where it should be. So it's costing you money just not doing this basic check, and it's something every motorist should do on a weekly basis. If your tyre pressure system has cut in and you've checked the tyres and one tyre is much less inflated than the other 3, it might indicate you've got a slow puncture. So keep an eye on that wheel. Take the pressure up to where it should be and check it a few days later. And if you've noticed it drop, you need to investigate the cause of that, because it's just going to keep losing pressure, and that can be quite dangerous in the long run. Now, when it comes to driving a car with no pressure at all in the tyre, you're actually starting to damage the metal rim itself. So the tyre is designed to really take that rim away from the road surface. So if you're running on the rim, it's going to pick up every little jolt and shock from the road or the potholes, and it's going to deform. And when that deforms, it's a very, very expensive replacement. They usually can't be repaired, although in some cases you may be able to get a repair done. So that's going to certainly cost you. But also, if it's not quite that desperate, if it's not running on the actual rim itself, it's just running on a flat tyre, you're really damaging the rubber on those tyres themselves. So the tyre walls are designed to take the weight of the car when they're inflated with air. If you take the air out, you're creating a concertina effect on the actual rim itself, and that's going to be very detrimental to the overall lifespan of the tyre. So your tyre is going to need replacing much more quickly. So what about run flats? So these are tyres that are actually designed to run without air or with very little air in them. Now, there's 2 types of run flat. There's those with really thick sidewalls, so they don't need the air in order to provide the rigidity that the tyre actually needs. And there's some that have got an internal little block that prevents the tyre from squishing into the rim itself. So both of those really make sure that you've got the efficiency of the tyre and that you're not damaging the rim, but you're limited. Most of these run flat tyres, so they're typically fitted on BMW vehicles, but you can get them on other models. They're very convenient because if you get a flat or a puncture, you don't have to stop immediately. You can generally get to your destination. But most of the manufacturers will say you've only got about 50 miles in that run flat state, and they'll also limit your speed to about 50 miles an hour. If you start going above 50 miles an hour, you're putting a lot of extra stress and wear and tear on the tyre, and the tyre's performance is certainly going to be much lower than you would have expected with a properly inflated tyre. So don't take chances. If your tyre pressure is low, get it rectified as quickly as possible, and certainly don't run around on a flat tyre. The most common telltale sign that you've got a flat tyre is the noise it makes. There's little strips inside the tyre itself that create a rumble noise as the rim starts running over that. So if you notice that telltale rumble sound, that's time to stop the car. And you might get away with just putting a little bit of air in. If you've got one of these little air pumps that go into your cigarette lighter, don't fully inflate the tyre in one go. Give it short 2 to 3 minute bursts, or whatever the manufacturer of that unit suggests, because it's very easy for those units to burn out when you're asking them to fully inflate a tyre. They're really only designed for topping up the tyre pressures on each of the tyres, and they need a little bit of cool down time in between, otherwise you will burn them out very quickly. So I hope this video has been useful to you. Please boot the like button, that really does help us to get out there, and I've lined this video up for you that should help you to get the best out of your car. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. We'd love you to stay tuned. Thanks for watching. See you in this next video.